Hello everyone, welcome to GED. So we are getting closer and closer to the release of Wonderlands, and oh man, the class trees are kind of released. We're not sure if they're gonna sneak some stuff in there, but there's gameplay videos, there's demo videos coming out, and there's tons of stuff circulating about the speculations on Wonderlands. And I don't know, at the time of making this video, we're about, I don't know, 2 weeks out from it. But I'm gonna just go through a quick rundown of a few of the classes in the next following videos. And this first video is basically going to explain what class combination I'm picking with my main class and then class combo, just to kind of explain some stuff about how I feel about my personal build. So feel free to sit back, relax, and join in on this fun. So first off, we have a total of 6 classes, right? And you can be multi-classed with one currently. It's just one currently. So we got 2 classes to pick from, right? The Berserker, Clawbringer, Graveborn, Spellshot, Spore Warden, and the old Stabby Mancer. So the wheel of roulette of magical mystery for the GED pick is going to fall on the Spellshot. Yes, the gun-toting wizard. I'm a fan of magic users, I'm a fan of Borderlands, I'm a fan of D&D casters, and with the new spell mechanics, I feel like Spellshot is just going to be the perfect combination to start off with me and my personal opinion on how I want to build my character. Let's go into the skill tree and the details of the spell shot before we get into the whole full-on build. So you have the spell shot, and you have the class feats, action skills, passives, and etc. etc. You can read this at your leisure on the Wonderlands site. We're going to skip right down onto the class feat here. So casting a spell or reloading a weapon. Now, I don't know if you have to fully empty your mag or just reload in general, but they get a stack of spell weaving, increasing their spell damage. The new grenades / spells are, of course, spells. There's a lot of powerful ones I've seen in the beta and the demo, and when we get into mythic mods, legendary mods for spells, I feel that this is going to wreck face, like literally clear rooms. I'm not sure how many stacks you can get. I'm assuming 3. It doesn't seem like it'd be higher than a 3 stack because casting spells and reloading weapons is very not. You don't know. You don't cycle through it as fast as you would other stuff. So I'm gonna say guessing that you get 3 stacks of spell weaving. How much damage it actually adds is to be determined. Obviously, that will be modified maybe. Okay, so casting a repeating spell has a chance to award additional spell weaving stacks. So we've seen repeating spells. We've seen stuff like the Snappy and ice spells, magic missiles that have basically charges that you can keep casting until they run out. So while that may be a little bit different than a repeating spell, but spells with charges, spells that repeat themselves, all this is going to pump up your power as a spellcaster. Action skills, here we have the good old ambidextrous. You guys have kind of seen it before. You can equip 2 spells instead of an action ability. So basically you're just getting 2 grenade slots or 2 spell slots. And again, I've seen spells that wreck face on monsters. So I'm going ambidextrous. I'm just going to say it right now before we even look at the next one. The next one's kind of a team. Like if you're playing with friends, playing with 4 people, and you're fighting like on uber badass mode, and you're fighting monsters that just wreck your team, this is going to be a lifesaver right here. The spell shot turns the enemy into a skeep for a few seconds, and if the enemy is immune, you instantly cast a spell. So they kind of fixed the issue of some older Borderlands games where action abilities couldn't be used on bosses. This one's just going to give you a free spell if the enemy is immune. Otherwise, it's going to polymorph them. And pretty much any player, read that again, any player that damages the skeep has a chance to cast a free spell. That's amazing. Like if your team can just chuck spells at a mob and it's like really tough, like 3 bars of health, 3 bars of armor, 3 bars of whatever, and it just doesn't go down easy, this is going to help out a lot. So for the Fate Maker himself, the spellcaster, which we are, anytime you deal gun damage first, it's going to be free and proc basically for yourself, but your teammates will have a chance. So again, between these two, I'm going ambidextrous. I just want to throw out all sorts of magical chaos into the mix. Tier 1, the passives. Passives are Not very interesting, I'm going to say that much. But for the spell shot, I feel that this tree actually has some potential compared to a few other, we shall not name them, classes that I will go into in later videos. So we have Spell Sniper, 5 stacks. You can gain spell crit hit, magic bullets, 3 points max. You can take a portion of your spell damage and apply it to your guns. Now, how that calculates is really going to be crazy. Spell damage is kind of its own little thing, right? They're grenades, but and I keep referencing grenades, but they are spells. They're the new mechanic, but they are grenades. Whatever. Magic bullets, so it's going to take some of that damage and slap it on top of your gun damage. That, yeah. 5 points max of prestidigitation, gain increased reload speed. I do not like this one. This one's we're going to X out. Why? Because reloading in Borderlands I have never really found to be a problem. Reloading, unless you're using something slow like a rocket launcher that takes forever and ever to reload, I just don't find it. And there's stuff later down in the spell shot tree that kind of mutes this one out. So it's between Spell Sniper and Magic Bullets. If I was playing this game right now, I would go 3 into Magic Bullets for that damage, and then 2 just for a spell crit hit chance. You don't need it, it's just kind of icing on the cake of your spells. And those 5 points will push you into the next tier. Font of Mana, gain increased spell cooldown rate and action skill to cooldown rate. So both those ambidextrous abilities, your spells are going to cool down faster. Mage Armor, 1 point max. Whenever you gain a stack of spell weaving, you restore a portion of your ward. So every time you cast a spell or reload, you get ward recharge, or a portion of it restored. That, wow. Just warming up, gain increased fire rate for every spell weaving stack. Okay, so between a cooldown, a restoration, and a fire rate, I would have to take 1 point into 8 Mage Armor, just because destroying your ward late game can literally save your life. This ability, Mage Armor, is also going to play into the next tier, which we'll find out really quickly here. You can kind of preview it down at the bottom. And then I would just dump 4 points in just warming up. Every time you get a spell weaving stack, that means every time you reload, every time you cast a spell, which you're going to be ambidextrous, so you're going to be casting 2 spells off the bat and reloading, you're going to get fire rate. And fire rate in Borderlands is king. It does a lot for your damage output to have an increased fire rate. So sorry, cooldown, we're going with these 2 right here. Moving down to Glass Cannon. This is just a 1 point pump and dump. The Fate Maker's ward no longer recharges, but you gain drastically increased spell damage. So by the time you reach tier 3, I don't remember in Borderlands when you hit tier 3, I think it's around 20-ish, level 20-ish, you do crazy amounts of damage on your ambidextrous spells. You're just throwing fireballs, meteors, magic missiles, ice balls, whatever Borderlands is going to present to us. Glass Cannon is pretty much a no-brainer. Which brings us down to tier 4. You have Imbued Weapon. Whenever the Fate Maker casts a spell, their gun deals bonus damage of that element. And it stacks once per spell, so we have 2 spells, so it'll stack twice. High thread count, 1 point max. Gain increased max spellweaving stacks. Again, we don't know how many the max is on spellweaving, but more max could be good. And then you have Warcaster. Kill skill. Whenever the Fate Maker kills an enemy, there's a chance their weapon is instantly reloaded. This chance is increased per spellweaving stack. Instant reloads are cool. I mean, they're okay, but I just don't feel like this ability is going to be absolutely amazing, because we're primarily chucking out spells as much as we can. And instantly reloading our weapon, again, in Borderlands, never had a problem with reloading, even at slow reload speeds. So I'd throw 1 point into max spell waving stacks, more spell damage, more ward regeneration, whatever we get. And then if I had to, I'd put 4 points into Imbue Weapon. And whenever the Fate Maker casts a spell, you deal bonus damage of that element. So you're going to be doing a lot of elemental damage on your guns. And what did we get in tier 1? Increased fire rate. So we're pumping out bullets faster than you can, recharge your spells and just pumping out all sorts of elemental damage. It's going to be good. Tier 5. We have a choice between double knot, 3 points. Whenever you score a critical hit with a spell, you deal bonus damage. Okay, we had that tier 2 talent that increased our spell crit chance, right? So whenever we deal a critical hit with a spell, you deal bonus damage equal to your guns element. So your spells and your guns are kind of playing off each other, kind of feeding into each other back and forth. That's kind of cool. 1 slot, 1 kill, 1 point max. Gain increased damage per spell weaving stack. So again, this tier is all about forcing some of that spell damage into your guns. So I haven't really seen this on a lot of other classes. They just pretty much have like one or the other. But spell shot is kind of like, I don't know, crisscrossing both of the gun and the spells, just going ever higher and higher on that damage tier. So of course this entire tree is just 4 points, so you would take everything here. And then that extra point, that 5th point, would roll over down here to tier 6 at your ultimate tier 6 skill. Sever the thread, 1 point max. Gun critical hits have a chance to instantly reset all spell cooldowns, and it has a short cooldown. So we didn't take spell cooldown, right? If you remember, we have sever the thread at max level, which if we're rapid firing, we got that rapid fire from tier 1. This is going to be resetting our skills, our spells, and we're just going to be throwing out all sorts of elemental chaos. Meteors, hydras, lightning bolts, whatever you're fancying. Whatever the legendary gun mods and spell mods give us, this will be absolutely amazing. So there's a pretty much like quick preview of my primary main class. But you're like, well, yeah, but you got to multi-class in this game. You absolutely have to multi-class. You can't. There's no choice about it. So if we go back to our classes, what's going to be my secondary? We have a lot of good choices as a spell shot. A lot of synergy. The top 3 synergistic classes after my analysis probably would be the Graveborn, the Stabomancer, or the Spore Warden that feed into the spell shot. But I'm going off the beaten track here, and I'll tell you why in a moment. I'm going the Clawbringer as my second. And the Clawbringer gives me a Wyvern Companion as its passive. Now, I've always loved Saint and Wolf mechanics. When I played Borderlands 2 and I pumped out those Saint and Wolf pets and they flew around and they just annihilated everything on their own, it was absolutely amazing. And based on gameplay I've seen, the Wyvern Companion seems to be the most offensively based pet in the game right now. It does its own thing, it flies around, it shoots, it claw attacks, it does a lot of supplemental damage to any character pretty much. So basically, that's it. It gets a pet, it attacks with its claw and fire breaths, and increases to your damage applied to your companions. So it's a kind of a feed system back and forth, which I really hope, scales well. And then we're going to go into the action skills. Clawbringer is kind of its own thing. You don't really use their action skills when you're on a multi-class, unless maybe you're a melee class, but we're going to go into the passive skills. For me, I'm keeping the Ambidextrous just because that's what seems the most potential of range chaos for my build. So tier 1 in our multi-class, with the Clawbringer, we have Oath of Fire, 5 points max. The Fatemaker deals bonus fire damage with their guns and Wyvern. That's pretty cool. Radiance, 5 points max. The Fatemaker gains ward capacity. Now, if you remember in the spell shot trees, our ward does not regenerate at all. Like, we took the glass cannon thing. The only way we're going to be regenerating our ward is through gun reloads or spell casts. Getting those spell stacks. Oath of Thunder is also 5 points, so we have 3 5-point passives here, right? The Fatemaker deals bonus lightning damage with their melee attacks. The word just came out. Melee attack. No, we're a caster. We're a ranged character. We're not going to be doing any melee ever in Wonderlands. So, basically, it's between Radiance and Oath of Fire. If I was to do this, I would kind of split it. I'd go with a 3-2 split, 3 in Oath, 2 in Radiance. You want a little bit of ward capacity just to kind of uh, keep your maximum squishiness level down a little bit once you start hitting the major badass levels like badass rank 10. If you want to go completely glass cannon, this is pretty much like a Moe's ability where you get fire damage on your shots. This one could be good for both you and your Wyvern Companion. The problem with fire damage, though, is that usually in higher difficulty levels, a lot of armor, a lot of resistance, a lot of shields are there before you can really make a lot of work out of fire damage. So that's kind of the problem there. We're gonna go down. We can probably get about to tier 4 with a multi-class. Based on other Borderlands games, based on skill point previews, you get about 40 skill points. So you're gonna make it all the way down your main tree. And then if you don't invest more into your main tree, you're gonna get to about 40 skill points. So it takes you to about tier 3, maybe tier 4. We'll have to see, depending on the multi-class, right? So tier 2 of my multi-class, the Clawbringer, Dragon Aura, 5 point max. The Fate Maker is surrounded by a Dragon Aura that gives all allies inside elemental damage. Hello? Okay, Dedication, 5 points. The Fate Maker gains increased action skill cooldown rate. We already said in the previous tree, in our main tree, we don't want action skill cooldown rate because our tier 6 capstone is going to be feeding automatic refreshes into our spells, right? Rebuke, 5 points max. The Fate Bringer gains damage reduction from all attacks. Okay, and Reflect. You reflect some damage. Okay, this does not seem that great to me, honestly. Like, damage reduction, maybe if you need some survivability in tier 10, possibly, but I would just dump 5 points up here. Increased elemental damage on a spell shot, which is basically doing pure elemental damage for everything it does. I mean, your guns are doing elemental damage, your spells are doing elemental damage, your Wyvern is doing elemental damage. It's Dragon Aura all the way, baby, all the way. Tier 3, Blast Homit's Favor, 1 point. Kill skill. You get a fire orb when you kill an enemy that seeks out another enemy and does fire damage. And there's a motorcycle outside, very annoying. So this is like Amara's orb skill. I did not like it. It was not useful. It was not amazing. It did not help very much. It's just going to have to be a necessary evil, 1 point to skip over it. Tier 4, this is probably where we're going to kind of dwindle out on skill points, if we can even reach this high, you know, depending on... We really need a skill builder so I can do a full-on preview of the skill builds, but we have a choice, right? We have a choice of Firebolt, which our Wyvern, 1 point max, our Wyvern Companion will occasionally shoot firebolts at enemies. Basically, this is a Wolf and Saint mechanic, shooting a missile, leaving a big pool of fire for enemies to sit in and take damage. And then on top of that, you get gun damage. Just flat out gun damage. I don't know what to say to that. It's just damage. Friend to Flame, 5 points max. The Fate Maker's Wyvern gets increased damage. So this looks like it's a pure damage tree, right? Because the next one, Storm Breath, 1 point max. The Wyvern Companion will occasionally use Lightning Breath, causing lightning damage that can arc from enemy to enemy. And we get damage reduction. So I'm going to say all 3 of these are actually really nice. I mean, it's increased damage, it's double down on damage and damage reduction. But the primary thing here is just we're going to have fun with that Wyvern. We're going to get a damage boost in this final tier that we can probably reach. So I would go 1 point here and 1 point here for necessary, just necessariness, right? Because they're only 1 point and they add so much to your Wyvern and yourself. And then whatever you have left, you can kind of friend to flame. There you go. I mean, you got a pet. You got increased elemental damage. You're the spell shot slinging out those amazing double spells, and spell waving is just buffing your ward, buffing your gun damage, buffing your spells. It's an elemental powerhouse. I love this class, and I love what it can multi-class into. Maybe in the future I'll review some other possible multi-class builds, but this is the one I'm going with, the old Spell Clawbringer. And Spellclaw? Yeah, I think people on Reddit are calling it the Spellclaw. Anyways, guys, that's my build, and that's pretty much when I'm going. Pretty much determined that already off the bat. Can't wait to get into the game, the full release, and play with you guys and enjoy this carnage. Guys, take it easy.